Welcome back to our story channel. Where are you watching from? State in the comment, and please subscribe to our channel and let's continue. In a small village nestled near the border with Côte d'Ivoire, a young boy named Ibrahim listened intently as his grandfather, a village elder and renowned storyteller, recounted tales of warriors and prophets. But Ibrahim wasn't drawn to the stories of battle. He was captivated by the legends of men who spoke with the voice of God, men who could heal the sick and guide their people through darkness. His grandfather would often speak of a Nigerian prophet whose name was on the lips of many throughout Africa, Temitope Balogun Joshua, known simply as TB Joshua. He is a man touched by the divine, the old man would say, his eyes twinkling in the firelight. He speaks truth to power and offers hope to the hopeless. Ibrahim, a bright and inquisitive child, soaked up these stories like parched earth drinks rain. He felt a strange connection to this distant prophet, a pull towards something larger than his village, larger than himself. He began to pray more often, seeking guidance and understanding in the quiet moments of the day. Years passed. Ibrahim excelled in school, displaying a sharp intellect and a natural leadership ability. He was deeply affected by the poverty and injustice he saw around him, the corruption that plagued his nation, and the instability that threatened to tear Burkina Faso apart. He felt a growing sense of responsibility, a burning desire to make a difference. He decided to join the army, believing it was the most effective way to serve his country. He rose quickly through the ranks, earning the respect of his fellow soldiers with his courage, his integrity, and his unwavering commitment to the well-being of his men. But even amidst the rigors of military training, he never forgot the stories of TB Joshua. He followed the prophet's work through the internet, watching sermons and testimonies online, finding solace and inspiration in Joshua's message of faith, love, and healing. One sweltering afternoon, while stationed in a remote outpost, Ibrahim received news that shook him to his core. TB Joshua had passed away. A wave of grief washed over him, a feeling of profound loss for a man he had never met but felt deeply connected to. He felt as though a light had gone out in the world. In the wake of Joshua's death, Ibrahim felt a renewed sense of purpose. He believed that the prophet's spirit lived on, and that he, in his own small way, could carry on the work of spreading hope and fighting for justice. Burkina Faso was a nation on the brink. Years of political instability, economic hardship, and the growing threat of jihadist groups had created a tinderbox of discontent. The civilian government was seen as corrupt and ineffective, unable to protect its citizens or provide for their basic needs. Ibrahim, now a captain, watched with growing frustration as the country spiraled towards chaos. He saw the suffering of the people, the desperation in their eyes, and the fear that gripped their hearts. He knew that something had to be done, but he was unsure of what. One night, while wrestling with his conscience, Ibrahim had a vivid dream. He saw TB Joshua standing before him, his face radiating peace and compassion. The prophet spoke, his voice echoing in Ibrahim's mind, "Courage, my son. The path ahead is fraught with danger, but you must not falter. Stand for truth, stand for justice, and stand for the people. God is with you." Ibrahim awoke with a jolt, his heart pounding in his chest. He felt a surge of energy, a renewed sense of determination. He knew what he had to do. He began to confide in a small group of trusted officers, men who shared his concerns about the state of the nation. They discussed the possibility of a military intervention, a way to restore order and pave the way for a more just and equitable society. The decision was not taken lightly. They knew the risks involved, the potential for violence and bloodshed. But they believed that the alternative, allowing Burkina Faso to descend into further chaos, was even worse. On September 30, 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traore, at the head of a group of disgruntled soldiers, seized power in a coup d'état. The news sent shockwaves throughout the region and the world. Many condemned the coup as a violation of democratic principles, while others saw it as a necessary evil, a last resort to save Burkina Faso from collapse. Ibrahim, now the leader of the nation, addressed the people in a televised broadcast. He spoke of the need for unity, for justice, and for a new beginning. He promised to fight corruption, to improve the lives of ordinary citizens, and to restore security to the country. He also spoke of his faith, of the values that guided him, and of his admiration for TB Joshua. He said that he sought to emulate the Prophet's example of service, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the truth. The early days of the transitional government were fraught with challenges. Ibrahim faced immense pressure from all sides. The international community demanded a swift return to civilian rule. Regional powers eyed Burkina Faso with suspicion. And within the country, various factions vied for power and influence. The jihadist groups, emboldened by the political turmoil, stepped up their attacks, targeting villages and military outposts. The security situation remained precarious, and the threat of further violence loomed large. Ibrahim knew that he had to act decisively to stabilize the country and restore confidence in the government. He launched a series of initiatives aimed at tackling corruption, improving governance, and strengthening the security forces. He also reached out to civil society groups, religious leaders, and traditional elders, seeking their advice and support. He believed that only through dialogue and collaboration could Burkina Faso overcome its challenges. Despite his efforts, the problems persisted. The economy remained weak, poverty was widespread, and the security situation continued to deteriorate. Ibrahim faced criticism from both within and outside the country. Some accused him of being authoritarian, while others questioned his ability to deliver on his promises. He often found himself alone in the presidential palace, wrestling with doubt and uncertainty. He would spend hours poring over reports, consulting with advisors, and praying for guidance. In these moments of solitude, he would often turn to the teachings of TB Joshua. He would watch old sermons and read articles about the Prophet's life and work. He found comfort and inspiration in Joshua's message of hope, resilience, and unwavering faith in God. He remembered the dream he had after Joshua's death, the Prophet's words echoing in his mind, "Courage, my son. The path ahead is fraught with danger, but you must not falter. Stand for truth, stand for justice, and stand for the people. God is with you." He realized that leadership was not about power or prestige, it was about service. It was about putting the needs of the people above his own, about fighting for justice and equality, and about remaining true to his values, even in the face of adversity. Ibrahim's faith and his admiration for TB Joshua began to subtly influence his leadership style and his policies. He emphasized the importance of prayer and spirituality in public life. He encouraged his ministers and advisors to seek God's guidance in their decision-making. He also implemented policies inspired by Joshua's teachings. He launched programs to alleviate poverty, to provide education and health care to the poor, and to promote reconciliation and forgiveness. One of his most controversial decisions was to invite a group of Nigerian pastors, disciples of TB Joshua whom he had previously connected with online, to come to Burkina Faso and offer spiritual guidance to the government and the military. This decision was met with resistance from some quarters, who accused him of promoting religious extremism and violating the separation of church and state. But Ibrahim defended his decision, arguing that spiritual guidance was essential for the well-being of the nation. He believed that the pastors could help to heal the wounds of the past, to promote unity and reconciliation, and to inspire hope and faith in the future. The pastors, led by a charismatic young man named Barnabas, began to hold prayer meetings and workshops for government officials and military officers. They preached messages of love, forgiveness, and reconciliation. They offered counseling and support to those who were struggling with trauma and grief. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere in the government began to change. Officials became more collaborative and less corrupt. Military officers became more compassionate and less prone to violence. A sense of hope began to emerge, a belief that Burkina Faso could overcome its challenges and build a brighter future. Barnabas, in particular, became a close confidant of Ibrahim. He offered spiritual guidance, strategic advice, and unwavering support. He helped Ibrahim to navigate the complex political landscape and to remain true to his values. As Ibrahim's influence grew, so did the opposition against him. Powerful vested interests, threatened by his reforms, began to plot against him. They spread rumors, sowed discord, and attempted to undermine his authority. The jihadist groups, sensing an opportunity to destabilize the country, stepped up their attacks. They targeted government buildings, military convoys, and civilian populations. The security situation deteriorated rapidly, and the threat of a full-blown civil war loomed large. Ibrahim found himself increasingly isolated and under pressure. He faced betrayal from within his own ranks, and he struggled to maintain control over the country. One dark night, while returning from a visit to a remote village, Ibrahim's convoy was ambushed by a group of heavily armed militants. A fierce gun battle ensued. Several of Ibrahim's bodyguards were killed, and Ibrahim himself was seriously wounded. News of the attack spread like wildfire throughout the country. Many feared that Ibrahim was dead, and that Burkina Faso was about to descend into chaos. But Ibrahim had survived. He was rushed to a military hospital, where doctors worked feverishly to save his life. As he lay in his hospital bed, weak and in pain, Ibrahim reflected on the events that had led him to this point. He thought of his grandfather's stories of TB Joshua, of the dream he had after the prophet's death, and of the promises he had made to the people of Burkina Faso. He realized that he had made mistakes, that he had trusted the wrong people, and that he had underestimated the forces aligned against him. But he also knew that he had done his best, that he had acted with integrity and compassion, and that he had never wavered in his commitment to the truth. He closed his eyes and prayed. He prayed for healing, for strength, and for guidance. He prayed for the people of Burkina Faso, that they would find peace and unity. As Ibrahim recovered from his wounds, the country held its breath. The transitional government teetered on the brink of collapse. The jihadist groups were gaining ground, and the threat of a coup loomed large. Barnabas, the Nigerian pastor, rallied the supporters of Ibrahim, organizing prayer vigils and public demonstrations. He called on the people of Burkina Faso to remain steadfast in their faith and to defend their ideals of justice, peace, and unity. The people responded. Thousands of ordinary citizens took to the streets, chanting slogans in support of Ibrahim and calling for an end to the violence. They formed human shields around government buildings and military installations, deterring potential attackers. The international community, witnessing the outpouring of support for Ibrahim, began to exert pressure on the opposition groups and the jihadist groups. They called for a ceasefire, for dialogue, and for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Ibrahim, weakened but undeterred, emerged from his hospital bed and addressed the nation. He condemned the violence, reaffirmed his commitment to democracy, and called for unity and reconciliation. He announced a new initiative aimed at addressing the root causes of the conflict, including poverty, inequality, and corruption. He promised to hold free and fair elections within a year, and to hand over power to a democratically elected government. His words had a powerful effect. The violence began to subside, and the political climate began to improve. The opposition groups agreed to enter into negotiations with the government, and the jihadist groups signaled their willingness to consider a ceasefire. In the months that followed, Ibrahim worked tirelessly to implement his reforms and to prepare the country for elections. He traveled throughout Burkina Faso, meeting with ordinary citizens, listening to their concerns, and seeking their advice. He forged alliances with civil society groups, religious leaders, and traditional elders, building a broad coalition of support for his vision of a new Burkina Faso. The elections were held in a peaceful and transparent manner. International observers declared them to be free and fair. The people of Burkina Faso spoke, and they chose a new leader, a civilian politician who promised to continue the work of reform and reconciliation. Ibrahim, true to his word, handed over power to the newly elected president. He stepped down from his position, but he remained a respected figure in Burkina Faso, a symbol of hope and resilience. In his farewell address to the nation, Ibrahim spoke of the challenges that Burkina Faso had faced, of the sacrifices that had been made, and of the progress that had been achieved. He thanked the people of Burkina Faso for their support, their courage, and their faith. He thanked the international community for their assistance. And he thanked TB Joshua, the prophet who had inspired him to serve his country. He said that while he was stepping down from his position, he would continue to work for the betterment of Burkina Faso. He would dedicate his life to promoting peace, justice, and equality. Years later, Burkina Faso had become a beacon of hope in the Sahel region. The country had made significant progress in reducing poverty, improving education, and strengthening its democratic institutions. The threat of jihadist groups had been significantly reduced, and the security situation had stabilized. The economy was growing, and foreign investment was pouring into the country. Ibrahim Traore remained a revered figure throughout Africa. He was seen as a symbol of principled leadership, a man who had risked everything to save his country and to serve his people. He established a foundation dedicated to promoting education, healthcare, and peace in Africa. He often spoke at international conferences, sharing his experiences and inspiring others to follow his example. Barnabas, the Nigerian pastor, continued to work alongside Ibrahim, providing spiritual guidance and support. He established a network of churches and community centers throughout Burkina Faso and the region, spreading the message of hope, love, and forgiveness. The legacy of TB Joshua lived on, not only in Burkina Faso, but throughout Africa and the world. His teachings continue to inspire millions of people to live lives of faith, service, and compassion. The story of Ibrahim Traore and his connection to TB Joshua became a legend, a testament to the power of faith, courage, and leadership. It was a story that would be told and retold for generations to come, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can still prevail. It showed that even a young officer, guided by faith and a connection to a distant prophet, could rise to lead his nation towards a brighter future. The lion cub, nurtured by the prophet's mantle, had roared, and his roar had echoed across the continent. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, share and comment.